Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. A massive win on the recruiting trail for Dan Lanning, the Oregon Ducks, as they closed late on four-star defensive lineman Josiah Sharma committing to the Oregon Ducks. And this kid is very fascinating coming out of high school. You take a look at the junior year and you say 6'5", 295 pounds, largely looks like a man amongst boys. For lack of better terms, we're going to watch the film. You guys will see what I'm talking about. Then you do some background reading into Josiah Sharma. You find out he was only 15 years old playing his junior year. This is a kid that is young for his grade, still some physical development that needs to take place. I kept myself asking, what is this kid going to look like when he's 18, 19 years old, starting his career with this Oregon program? A massive commitment, not only because I think this is one of the better defensive linemen out on the West Coast, but I think more importantly, something we've talked about a lot with this Oregon program, prioritizing the line of scrimmage heading into the Big Ten. You saw Dan Lanning do that in the 2024 class with guys like Aiden Breland, Jericho Johnson, Elijah Rushing. You're seeing Dan Lanning do the exact same thing in this 2025 cycle as well. We know Oregon is going to be able to compete with the offensive skill positions with just about anybody in the country, especially in the Big Ten. That's probably going to be their bread and butter. I think our question was, can the line of scrimmage play be good enough in the Big Ten? And from what they've done in the transfer portal, what they've done on the high school trail, it certainly seems to be the case. And I don't think you could have a better head coach leading this program into the Big Ten than head coach Dan Lanning, because he knows what it looks like to build the trenches the right way, having been the DC at Georgia. Fired up to get into the film. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys, to the Oregon Duck fans, the amount of support you guys have shown the fellas, whether we're talking the high school recruiting trail, whether we're previewing the 2024 season. It's been amazing. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. It sounds like could be a fun next couple of days and weeks for Oregon on the recruiting trail. It could be a fun this afternoon for the Oregon Ducks as well, with Jordan Davison also scheduled to commit. But without further ado, let's get into Josiah Sharma first. And you just look at the physical traits. That's where you want to start. And you're saying we are betting on this kid every single day of the week. And I think what makes Josiah Sharma at least really enticing in my eyes is, yes, he is extremely physically imposing, 6'5", 295 pounds, has a 79-inch wingspan. He's also got a really good get-off the line of scrimmage, and we kind of had this conversation about Oregon's defensive line in 2023. You had some really solid players, right? Guys like Popo and Casey Rogers, but one thing that might have held Oregon back in the 2023 season was not having the difference makers on the inside of the defensive line. They had really solid football players, but not necessarily difference makers. Josiah Sharma not only can be a really solid football player, do the dirty work like Casey Rogers and Popo did in terms of eating up double teams, letting your linebackers kind of flow downhill. I think Josiah Sharma can be a little bit of a game wrecker too, because you look at the size, but then the get off and the juice he has off the line of scrimmage and say, this is a guy that can wreck games for opposing offensive lines. He's extremely hard to deal with, not only because of the sheer size and length that he has, but the get off and athleticism that he couples it with. I think this guy could be a difference maker. Quite frankly, 24/7 Sports, I would be very surprised if he's still a 3-star, according to 24/7 Sports, come the month of December. Without further ado, let's get into the film. And again, we're just looking at kind of a game record. He stands out because of the size, but what I just absolutely love about his film is what he can do firing off the line of scrimmage. I mean, you see the athleticism, the burst off the line of scrimmage, just using that length, little swim move, and then we're going to close the distance on the quarterback. This kid's a game wrecker. He's a guy that can get into behind the backfield. He can give you that juice in the pass rush, all things that, Oregon might have lacked during their 2023 season. I think another thing that I want to just quickly note, this kid's got a high IQ. I mean, you're going to see multiple times they're going to try to slip screens out, and Josiah Sharma is always understanding what's going on in front of him, what's behind him. I'm getting those big paws up. You're going to see him knock down a few passes, a guy that it's going to be hard to kind of get by those big arms on the defensive line. You see him consistently be able to shoot some gaps, get behind the line of scrimmage. Again, something that you just didn't have enough of from these Oregon defensive linemen last year. You continue to work through the film, wins in a variety of different ways, because he can just eat you up too. I mean, he's a guy that you take a look at just, hey, we're going to get behind the line of scrimmage, and then we're going to run along the line of scrimmage and make a play on a running back in space. Not a lot of 300-plus pound bodies can do what Josiah Sharma does. And I think what's really intriguing about Josiah Sharma is I think this kid takes a jump going into his senior year. Again, he was only 15 years old trying to function in a 6'5", 300-pound body. You can tell a little bit. Talk about IQ. And this is a guy that knows what he's doing on the football field, senses the screen. The only got to turn back and run and make sure he's making the play. Love the IQ. I love the tenacity this kid plays with. And again, he's a 15-year-old kid that is learning how to navigate a 6'5", 300-pound frame as he continues to kind of grow into that body. That's kind of what excites me the most, because again, you see the functional athleticism not always there. He's a juiced up guy that can get off the line of scrimmage, but the functional athleticism sometimes is a little bit out of control. And what does it look like when he kind of learns how to use that frame a little bit more effectively? That's what really fires you up. And for the Oregon fans, I might just not even take off the Oregon commitment sweatshirt. We got 4-star running back Jordan Davison committing, I think, sometime this afternoon. I've already watched the film multiple times on Jordan Davison. As a Michigan fan myself, I was hoping he'd wind up in Ann Arbor. It sounds like Dan Lanning, the Oregon Ducks, are at least trending to get this one done. We'll hop on, break down the film if Jordan Davison does commit to the Oregon Ducks. We'll close it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.